Hey, good morning. Good morning. Woo, we're even a tiny bit early. Maybe it's because I had too much coffee. Good morning. Happy to see you guys. I'm Erin from Girl Catch Fire. We help women get unstuck and on purpose at midlife. And welcome to Monday Morning Mindset, where we talk about all that kind of stuff that kind of gets in our way. One thing before we get started, I did want to shout out that we're doing a live training the week between Christmas and New Year's. You know that weird week where you're like, I'm not at work, but I don't want to be at home and I've eaten too much. And it's confusing, right? So um, wanted to let you guys know that we're going to do a live training on 4 different nights during that time. And I dropped the link in the chat so you can go and sign up for it. It's free. The training will be about an hour. I'm going to do a live Q&A, and we're just going to talk about, frankly, what do you want to do with 2025 and what do you want to do with this midlife dip that you may be in? And we're here to help. So anyhow, I'm excited for it. Think it's going to be a lot of fun. So links in the chat if you want to check that out. So this morning, however, what we're talking about is effectively imposter syndrome. And so we're talking about this idea that I may not be good enough. And I'm not even going to ask you, like, oh, do you ever struggle with I'm not good enough? Um, I'm not blank enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not, whatever. I'm not good enough for this relationship, this promotion, this career, this job, etc. We got to talk about it because, as you guys know, your thoughts become things. What you aim at, you hit. And so we really have to talk about what it is that you've got going on in your head with regard to your capability and what's possible for you, especially at midlife, because so many of you are going through really big identity shifts that are going to require you to become something else. I'm no longer, for instance, a full-time mom. My kids have moved off and launched. I have recently gotten divorced. I am stuck and stagnant in my career and I need to make a change. Well, what you believe about yourself in those moments is going to determine what happens to you next to a large degree. So let's talk about what you believe. And honestly, I'm not good enough is underlying so much behavior. So many people have this. All right. So this is why I want to take it apart today. So as I said, thoughts become things. And what's the worst possible outcome of feeling like you're not good enough? We all know what it is, right? It's getting found out that people are going to find out that you're not good enough at your job or good enough in the relationship or good enough wherever. That's the worst possible outcome. And so basically that's the root of imposter syndrome is that I'm not good enough, but I can't let anybody know. So I have to do all kinds of things to make sure nobody finds this out, right? That's what imposter syndrome is. And getting found out is the worst possible outcome. So I get just personally, like I got kind of know wherever I speak because since about 2010, but about the last 14, 15 years, I feel like I am on this journey of being outside my comfort zone all the time. I can come up with 25 examples right off the top of my head, leading teams to Africa, leading teams by myself to Africa, creating all these events that we do around here, from the retreats to other crazy events that we've done. The reality is those things, I don't feel good enough to do any of those things. Or at the time, I didn't feel like I don't feel good enough to do this. I don't feel smart enough. I don't feel capable enough. Those are my feelings. Okay. But because I didn't know what I'm going to tell you guys about this morning, what I'm going to teach you this morning, I did what everybody does in those situations. You just fake it until you make it. Right? So now faking it until you make it is not a terrible idea, but I want to give you guys some ideas for how to do it differently. Because if your core belief is that I'm not good enough for this person, for this job, for this task, this project, this business I want to start, you're going to find a way to sabotage it to prove yourself right. Remember what I told you guys this many weeks ago, but Tony Robbins always says the most consistent force in the human personality is our need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. So if you're defining yourself as not good enough, okay, well, you're going to find a way to sabotage whatever it is you're doing so you can stay consistent. Not only that, When you're faking it till you make it, you're terrified of being found out, number 1. So we tend to overwork, we overperform, um, we get all armored up in weird ways, like carrying around a pretty heavy suit of armor so people can't get to us, can't see like what's stirring under here. Tends to make us kind of rigid, arrogant even. Arrogance is often associated with insecurity. So, like, if you don't feel like you're good enough or that you're worthy or valuable, sometimes that can come out as arrogance. All right. And so, but ultimately, what you're doing, and you might want to write this down, is you're playing not to lose. Let me say that again. Instead of playing the game to win, you are just playing not to lose. Like, if I can just make it through another day, if I can just figure out how to not be found out, right? And that is exhausting. Oh, and by the way, when you do get feedback or criticism, which is inevitable in this life, what happens? I mean, Katie bore the door. It is devastating, or it can be, right? Because it feeds that monster that's growing and has been sort of shoved down in there, like, oh no, they found me out. I'm not good enough. See, I told you. Okay. What if you did the opposite of all this? What if you did the opposite of the faking it till you make it and all the pretending and putting up this fancy preferred self with all this armor that keeps you safe from anybody finding out that you don't think you're good enough? What if you did the opposite? Because what we resist persists. You guys know this? If you're resisting something, it persists, right? So what if you stopped resisting it? What if you even accepted it? You know what? Mm, yeah, I might not be good enough for this. I might not be smart enough for this. I may not know everything that I need to know. And seriously, I know you're like, wait, what? Like, this is a life coach telling us this, that I'm supposed to agree with my insecurities? Kind of. Kind of. And here's what I'm the distinction that I want to make. This is important. So, yeah, I might not be qualified enough to lead a team of 40 Christians to Africa, or I might not be smart enough, or whatever. At the bottom of it is I'm not good enough. But I'm here and I'm showing up. And by the way, my value as a person does not depend on this situation, on any outcome of this situation, nor on what anybody thinks about me. Nobody's opinion, no outcome, no situation defines me, because I'm valuable simply because I'm made in the image of God. That's a belief that you can condition starting right now. What it does is it detaches your value and identity from your performance, or from any outcome, or from any achievement, or most importantly, from anybody else's opinion about you. You can start right now to condition that you're valuable apart from any situation or anything that happens to you. You are valuable simply because you're a beloved child of God. You can start conditioning that right now. Maybe write that one down, right? That's just a choice, because you are not what you do. You are not what people think about you. You are here, a human being having a human experience, and you're worthy because you're here. Okay. What would happen if that was your core identity rather than, oh, I'm not good enough? Probably what would happen is that you could show up to stuff and be like, well, I'm here and I'm showing up and I'm open to learning. But I'll tell you what happens is when you have detached your value from your performance, you can make mistakes and be like, whoa, okay, well, I guess that didn't go as planned, but I'm new at this. So maybe it's okay. And I can learn because I'm smart, and I'm going to persist in this regard. Doesn't that feel different? It gives you all kinds of latitude and permission and freedom to just show up to your life and be brave with your life and try things, because no matter what happens, you are valuable regardless. So I'm going to say that one more time. I'm here and I'm showing up, and my value as a person does not depend on the outcome of whatever I'm doing. It doesn't depend on people's opinion of me. It doesn't depend on how much money I make. It doesn't depend on my achievement. None of that. I'm just valuable because I'm here and I'm made in the image of God. That'll set some of you guys free if you do it. Okay, so that's really step one. Step two is sweet. Now mistakes can be made. I can persist through mistakes without collapsing under the weight of failure because I'm just, well, I am new at this. I am learning something new. I didn't know how to start a business before I started it. I didn't know how to take teams of people to Africa. I didn't know how to bring, 50 girls from an island nation, from the capital city and an island nation down to the beach for a weekend. I didn't know how to do any of that. But since my identity, at least now, is not attached to the outcome of that event, I'm okay with regardless of what happens, it gives me freedom. So I can persist through the things I don't know without carrying all of that heavy baggage of this preferred self, the person that I want you to see, right? I can let that go, which is good because it's heavy and it's cumbersome. And without that not enough pressure, I just have freedom because I already am enough. Some of you could take that on right now and change your life with it. Honest to goodness, you could do that right now. You could decide because guess what? Who gets to decide what your worth and value? You do. You get to decide that. Don't let anybody decide that for you, right? And some of you are so afraid of making a mistake because you're still trying to convince everybody that you are enough because you don't believe it in and of yourself. That's your work. Figuring out how you define yourself as valuable. Okay. Now, once you've made this decision that you are going to define yourself and not allow other people to do it, you're going to have to constantly work that. You're going to have to remind yourself until it becomes a habit, be constantly renewed in the spirit of your mind. Right. So, conditioning that belief is going to help you. Now, there's a third part of this that I find really helpful. And again, I'm a follower of Jesus. And so I get to appropriate the things that Jesus said that I have as a believer, right? So, even back in the scriptures, the prophets were like, "Oh, Israel, listen, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand, saith the Lord." And so that's available for me too, is that I can, well, okay, great. I can be weak. I can be faulty. I can be new at things because God's going to help me. He said he would, right? As long as my mind is set on doing his will, right? I can accept the mercy and the forgiveness for my mistakes. I can accept forgiveness for the fact that I'm not perfect. Oh my gosh, some of you are dying of your own perfectionism because you're so afraid to let anybody know that you don't have all the answers. Newsflash, like all of us are making this up. Nobody knows how to do something they've never done before. That's but you have to have the freedom to make the mistakes. And if you already believe that A, God is on your side and will help you, and B, you can make mistakes and it's not fatal, that we have a shirt that we wear around here that says, "Yeah, but did you die?" That's what we want. Okay. So dropping the perfectionism, dropping the imposter, saying, "I am valuable because I'm made in the image of God, not because of anything that I do or create." That'll set you free. So, as a review, the root of of imposter syndrome is I'm not enough. And all of us at some point or another in our lives have it. All right. So there's two routes you can take. Route number one is I'm just going to work my head off and I'm going to perform so good and I'm going to be perfect in every way. And I'm, hopefully I can manage people who are trying to give me feedback and not get it because I can't handle, I already feel ashamed. I can't handle anymore. So I'm going to put up this armored up preferred self and let people see that and it's going to be great. Well, I promise you that shit gets heavy. Okay. And you will do better to take the other route, which is, hey, I am new at this. I don't maybe know what I'm doing. Maybe I don't know if I'm capable of doing this, but I'm here and I'm going to persist and we're going to find out. Oh, and by the way, I'm valuable whether or not, whatever the outcome of this is, I'm still valuable. However much money I make, what people say, it doesn't affect my worth and value. I am valuable because I'm made in the image of God. Okay. Then that gives this route over here gives me the freedom to go and try stuff. Oh, and also, by the way, I'm going to lean on the promises of God that said, hey, listen, My grace is sufficient for you. Israel, I will help you, you silly little worm. I will help you, Jacob. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Okay. He actually said that my strength, he told the apostle Paul, like, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. And Paul was like, sweet. It is good news, right? Like, okay, I don't have to be anything than what I already am because I'm enough. So take that this week. What would be different in your life if you condition the idea that you are already enough and you are valuable apart from anything that you do or anybody's opinion of you? This is a belief that you can condition right now that will change how you show up in the world. Because remember, our identity controls our behavior. Some of you guys have big things that you want to do, but you got to get the identity right first. I am valuable, period. Okay? I hope that helps you. Show up to our training. Click the link in the comments if you'd like to show up. It's in there, and we would love to see you. It's girlcatchfire.com slash midlife revolution. It's going to be great. The week between in between Christmas and New Year's, we're going to be there because why not? That's such a weird week anyway. We're going to talk about stuff like this. Midlife identity, what you need to know to make 2025 a year that actually you start building something you really love. So join us. I hope you guys have a great week. Mwah. I'll see you all later. Bye.